It's happening, people. I don't think you understand what's going on right now. And the fact is that big television moments are on their way. Waterloo Road is coming back. It's coming back. The BBC, they've announced they've renewed it. They're bringing it after 5 long years. I'm very excited, people. And you lot don't understand the genius of that show, okay? Very few people do. It was so popular in its day. It ran for like 9 years, something like that, 10 series, 200 episodes. This is a big deal, okay? I'm not seeing the impact. These people online, they're talking about the MCU. They're talking about Chris Pratt playing Mario. They're talking about things that aren't important when Waterloo Road is coming back. Waterloo Road is coming back. The drama, the tension, all of the characters, everything you'd want from a beautiful thing. And yet all these people, they're not talking about it. So I'm here to explain it. I'm here to explain the genius of Waterloo Road by in-depth describing the actions and storylines of the first episode. That's what I'm doing today, okay? That's what I'm doing. And I've brought a whiteboard so we can go through it properly. I've got pens. I've got different color pens. We'll start with the beginning of the episode, okay? Head teacher. I've misspelled head. Hang on. Head teacher breakdown. Head teacher breakdown. The show starts with the head teacher of the school having a breakdown. He's on the roof, okay? He's lobbing files everywhere, just lobbing them all over the shop. They're flying about. It's break time. There's kids in the playground. They're all looking up. They're like, oh, look at that. That's funny. The head teacher, ha ha ha. I predict a riot by the Kaiser Chiefs is playing, right? It sets the tone for what will be a show full of mental anguish and also good pop songs from 2005 when the show came out. I think it was 2005, might be 2006. Doesn't make a difference. The point is, head teacher breakdown. That's the first thing that happens in this episode. Storyline number 2. It starts with a couple, all right? They're teachers. They're both English teachers, okay? We'll call them T1 and T2. They're engaged, in love, right? Been so for a long time, apparently, because they're engaged, you'd suspect, unless they got engaged day one. I don't remember, right? But the point is T1 and T2 are engaged. T1, he goes, I'm not on it anymore. I don't love you anymore. I'm sorry, it's not something I'm vibing. I'm not something I'm feeling anymore. Then T2's best friend, who we'll call T3, she talks to T1. She's like, bruv, are you dying? Have you got a medical problem? And T1's like, no, I don't. And she goes, well, then you must have another woman on the go, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Why would you break off your marriage? Why would you break off your engagement? It doesn't make sense. And T1 goes, fine, I do have another woman. It's you, bruv. I'm in love with you. T3, shocked, confused, confounded, right? She's like, I don't know. How could you say that? You're about to get married to T2. He goes, it's true though. Tell me you don't feel the same. She goes, I don't feel the same, but you can tell by the look on her face, she feels the same. Engagement between T1 and T2 goes to being off to back on again, okay? It's back on again. This whiteboard's getting messy, I don't care. It goes from being off to back on again. And just in case you thought, this is a lot of relationship drama to be happening within a single episode of television. Well, it's not over yet, because the wedding between T1 and T2 is in the same episode. They get married, it's all good. T3 is the head maid, not head maid, what's the word I'm looking for? Maid of honor. She's the maid of honor. They're giving speeches about how much they think she's great. And T1 is like, she knows how important she is to this relationship and how this relationship wouldn't have lasted without her, or something like that. And you're like, oh, the people there, they're thinking, oh, he's just talking nonsense. Nah, bruv, he's talking about the fact he loves her. Later on at the reception, T1 and T3, they kiss. So it's clear as day T3 has a thing for T1. Okay, I drew that weirdly because I wasn't holding the pen correctly. But it's clear. Now we move on to another storyline. I'll grab a different pen. Black. Next storyline. It comes from the head teacher losing it. So there is a new deputy head. Deputy head. See that? You can see it if I angle it like that. There we go. Deputy head. Right, there's a new deputy head in town, and he gets hired by the new head teacher because obviously the previous one, as I said, had a breakdown. He has all of these highfalutin concepts and ideas, right? He's a bit ahead of himself. He's a posh boy in Rochdale. That don't go down well. He's like on the bus on the first day to his school job, right? New job on the job already. He's disciplinarian is the new deputy head, okay? And he sees one of the children from the school, K1 in this sense, K1, okay? K1 gets arrested because he sees K1 nabbing something, stealing it from one of the other kids when they're getting on the bus to get to school. So he takes him off the bus, gets him arrested. Now, we bring into case K2. K2 is K1's girlfriend. And at the beginning of the episode, we see her and her mum's like, listen, I know you're in love with him, but I wish you weren't. You know, when you're young, you're in love with people that you fall out of love with very quickly. You'll get over it. You need to get over it. K1 is bad for you. Okay, but K2, not listening. She's rebelling against her mother. She's at that age, right? So K1 says to K2, this guy, he got me arrested this morning. Next time I see him, I'm gonna have him. Little does K1 know that the person who got him arrested, the new deputy head, right? The new deputy head is also not only working at his school. K1 turns up to his English class. Guess who's his teacher? It's the new deputy head. And there's a bit of tension between them. K1 is kicking off, right? He's acting up as well. He's not happy about this situation. Deputy head goes, all right, I'll just give you detention then. He carries on acting up. I'll give you another detention. Carries on acting up. He goes, listen, if you want to keep acting up, you ain't going to have no playtimes left. K1's fuming, right? K1 gets his phone out, rings his dad. He goes, Dad, new teacher's bullying me. You got to come and sort him out. Deputy head sees it and goes, I'm taking that phone. Now, K1's dad, in which we will call D1 for dad, he's a limo driver. This is going to come up later on. Pay attention, limo driver, right? So K1's dad, D1, let's draw a line between them so you know, there you go. Isn't this so clear? K1's dad, D1, turns up to the school, has a showdown with the deputy head. He goes, my son wants his phone back. The kids are egging him on, right? This is a lawless stat. I can't begin to explain to you what kind of lawless situation your boy, the deputy head, has walked into, okay? He's thinking it's just a school. Nah, fam, it's kicking off. It's kicking off something fierce, right? D1 then has a fight with the deputy head. Now, deputy head has already got K1 arrested earlier for theft. He then gets D1 arrested for assault because D1 starts banging him up. Starts battering the folk, right? Beating him up. The head of pastoral care, right? Nice person in the school. She comes up to the deputy head and she's like, I need to speak to K1 because his dad is going to prison now because he had previous form. So when you got him arrested, he's now going to prison. So I need to put him in care. So where is he? We need to talk about it. Deputy head didn't realize this because he's naive. He's only taught in posh schools before. He doesn't understand ASBOs and that. So he then goes to the prison and he says, listen, I won't press charges, but you have to do something for me. So he brings D1 back to the school, puts him in an assembly in front of everyone where he has to stand up and apologize to the deputy head for battering him in front of the whole school. D1 speaks to K1 and he goes, listen, son, we got a lot to talk about. Let's go. K1, he's a kid in 2006. So he goes, nah way, man. You disrespected me in front of the whole school. Not having it. Something to that effect, ish. I'm paraphrasing. Later on that night, K1 texts K2, says, do you want to have some fun? Do you want to have some fun tonight? Now, K2 is being babysit by their dad because actually K2 is the daughter of T3. And T3 is at the wedding of T1 and T2, okay? So K2 is being babysit by their dad, who is no longer with T3, by the way. There was like an incident or something, right? So anyway, all the same thing. It's all connected. You see how this is connecting, okay? She then gets the dad to leave. The dad goes. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just go to bed. We'll just sleep. She's a teenager. They're lying. They're lying, right? K1 steals D1, his dad's limo, comes to the house with a couple of their mates, right? Goes, come on, get involved. Let's all have fun in the limo. So K1 and K2, fueled by alcohol, go on a joyride in a limo around the Rochdale area. Okay, you can see where this is bad news. Okay, and then K2 gets on top of K1. All right, K2 gets on top of K1. She's trying to kiss him. He's like, yo, what are you doing? You can't be doing that. Blocks his view. Truck comes from the side. Bang. Run. It smashes into the side of the limo. K1 and K2, they're in big trouble. Okay, they're significantly injured. One of the other kids who's in the car, there's two other kids in the car. I mentioned them earlier. One of them is in a coma, and the other one dies. It dies. He dies. It's a he. I shouldn't say it. He. So to summarize, we get a breakdown of a head teacher. Okay, I've circled that for emphasis. You get an engagement. Do you know what? I'm going to use a different pen. This one's running out. You see that? You can. I've spelled it wrong. Ignore that. Engagement, right? There's an engagement. Let me put the lid on. There's an engagement, right? It's then struck off, no longer happening. It's then back on. They then get married. You then have... it gets struck off because T1 likes T3. T3 is T2's best friend. T3 says, no, you should marry T2. So T1 and T2 get married. This is the engagement that gets struck off, then back on. Then they have the marriage. But at the marriage, T1 marries or doesn't marry. T1 kisses T3. At the same time, you have K1 and K2 going out. K2 is T3's daughter. K2 is all rebellious and she's like in love with she's in love with K1 even though T3 doesn't like it and thinks he's a bit of a waster. K1 gets arrested at the beginning of the video for theft. I say the beginning of the episode for theft. K1, clearly a bad guy, then gets in trouble with the new deputy head who comes in because the head of the school had a breakdown at the beginning of the episode. The deputy head then has a fight with K1's dad who's D1. D1 then paps him up, right? Gets done himself. He gets arrested. He then goes to prison because he's got previous. Then he comes to the school, apologizes, infuriating K1 because he's disrespected him in front of the whole school. K1 then steals D1's limo. There's a massive crash. Someone dies. And that's the end of the episode. That's all in one episode, right? That is one episode of Waterloo Road Explained. So if you're trying to sit there and tell me this isn't more important than the MCU or whatever, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. You're wrong. Waterloo Road. It's a banger, bruv.